به Vancouver خوش آمدید. My name is Mark. I was born and raised in North Vancouver. I've been married for 3.5 years and I am a lawyer. I was born in 1980. We had a very kind of liberal family, one that was very kind, a very loving home. I have one brother and one sister. I should mention I went to the same elementary and secondary school as both my parents. I spent my time after school playing a lot of road hockey, a lot of video games as well, and a lot of TV. Big holidays for us were Christmas time and Thanksgiving. So we'd get together with a big extended family. We would host very often actually because we had quite a large house. We just do it to be with family and have a good time without any knowledge of the original meaning. So I was a very poor student. I didn't like to do homework. So after school I would like to play road hockey or watch TV as much as possible. And I would also like to play video games with my friends. That was much more interesting than studying. So I went all the way through elementary and secondary school, not really achieving good grades. I thought that I wouldn't be able to get into college or university after high school because my grades were so bad. So instead I worked. In grade 12, I worked at a grocery store as a customer service clerk for a little bit. I also taught kickboxing and karate. My big kind of passion, I guess you could say, when I was from about 16 onwards was kickboxing. I started competing in kickboxing tournaments when I was about 17 and kept competing until I was 23 or so. Immediately after high school, I started working as a private investigator. I would do a lot of surveillance. So I would basically park in my van or my SUV, whichever vehicle I had at the time, and I would wait for them to come out of their house, then follow them around and videotape them. If they went grocery shopping, I pretended to go grocery shopping. If they went to the gym, I would take my little pinhole camera, so it's the size of a pinhole, and I would follow them in there and pretend to work out near them and film them while they were doing that. With your mother only knew, no. With your mother only knew, no. With your mother only knew, no. So what that entails, of course, is a lot of just sitting around and waiting for things to happen. To pass the time faster, we would always listen to talk radio. Talk radio helps the time pass a lot faster than music does. While listening to talk radio, I became exposed to a lot of different theories and philosophies that I had never heard before, including conservative philosophies, if I can use that word, or religious philosophies. And at first it was very strange to me to hear because it seemed like it belonged in the 1950s or something. It seemed like something for a different era. But gradually, my mind was changed on a lot of issues such as the importance of family, or the sanctity of life, or the importance of religion for the health of society. So gradually, I started thinking that religion was actually a very good thing for society. At that time, of course, I knew nothing about it. But the principles that all the religions had really started to take a hold on me. It was a great job when I was young because, well, it's adventurous. You never know where you'll end up. But as I got older, I became a little tired of not knowing when I was going to be off work or not knowing when I was going to be working. At the same time, I started going to school just part-time when I was about 24, or 23 actually. I found I was actually very good at school. Once I became convinced that religion was a good thing for society, and especially it was how it teaches people to become a better person. That was what I was particularly interested in. I started investigating religions, and in order so that I could make myself a better person. So I started by going to a church because I knew that they spoke English there, and it seemed like a good place to start. And so I attended church for about 1.5 to 2 years. I found it very interesting. I had my study Bible and I read that a lot. But at the same time, I also investigated other religions as well. Mostly I did this with books and over the internet. After a while, I actually became convinced that God did in fact exist, whereas before I mentioned I grew up kind of like a Canadian. It's a very secular kind of environment. An important thing to me was to be active in combating evil and serving society. I would consider myself a pretty good person at that point, but I started seeing the society that I lived in as one that was more concerned with entertainment and comfort rather than trying to alleviate the suffering in the world. And the more I thought about that, the more dissatisfied I was with my own lifestyle and with my culture, really. I was already learning a lot about religions. I had my Bible, I had a Quran, I had other holy scriptures that I was reading. I was talking to people of different religious backgrounds. While I was on this search, I enrolled in a course called Philosophy of Religion. This course is all about whether God exists or not. And in that course, I met a Baha'i. One day, everyone went around and talked about what they believed in. And he explained that he was Baha'i, and he explained something called progressive revelation in about 30 seconds. And that meaning that there is one God and a series of messengers, including Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, the Buddha, Krishna, Zoroaster. They've all come to humanity to progressively reveal this one religion to mankind. And that was exactly what I was looking for, because the reason why I had not accepted any religion beforehand was because I saw each religion as very, very beautiful, except for when their followers told me about the other religions. So each religion on its own seemed very beautiful, but they couldn't answer the questions of what about all the other religions. And so this actually is the only thing that made sense to me. That course actually ended shortly afterwards, so I didn't see that Baha'i again for quite some time. And I went to the phone book. Back then we used these things called phone books. They're about that big, very thick. And I looked under churches and there was nothing there. I thought, well, this isn't any good. I figured there was no Baha'is in Canada. So I stopped searching for a while because I thought it was wonderful, but I just figured I didn't really realize there were Baha'is here. And then one day I was out at UBC, University of British Columbia, and it was clubs days where all the students have their student club tables. And there was a Baha'i club table there. And I was very happy to find them. I said, wow, we have Baha'is in Canada. This is great. Where is your church? I want to go to your church. And she said, well, we don't really have churches. We have a Baha'i center. I said, that's great. Tell me where it is. So she actually this student gave me the information for the Baha'i center. And there was a course there that was for seekers. It was about 4 or 5 weeks long. On the last day, the teacher of this course It says, okay, so who wants to become Baha'i? And I became Baha'i like that. ای مهربان بهای من، تو تایید کن، تو توفیق بخش. ما افسرده ایم، تو دریای آتش. ما پژمرده ایم، تو نسایم روح بخش. نسیم عنایتی و شمیم محبتی برسان. My parents, in typical Canadian fashion, said, "That's wonderful, Mark. As long as you're happy, we're happy." And then they also made fun of me a little bit for joining this cult. But then, of course, they're just joking. And once in a while, they still make fun of me for not drinking alcohol or living a chaste life and things like that. My family sometimes jokes that the reason why I'm the only religious person in my family is because of what happened when I was baptized. Because I didn't come from a religious family, they didn't really believe in baptism or anything. And of course, they never attended church. But it's also just a Canadian thing to do, to get your baby baptized. So there we were at the church. I've got my little white gown on. I'm a baby. At the same time, there's another baby there to get baptized. Now, my parents are there like, this will be fun, haha. But the other baby came from a very religious family. The grandparents flew to Israel and gathered water from the River Jordan to bring it back for the baptism. But who got that baptism water first? It was me. And the other baby had to have the used holy baptism water from the River Jordan. So while this was happening, my parents were like, oh no. But the priest had no idea what was happening. The grandparents of that other baby were furious. I gave away all my gangster rap CDs. I had a big pile, right? Actually maybe like that big. And I gave it all away. And my mom was very scared. She says, what next? Are you gonna, maybe I shouldn't say this, but she says, what next? Are you gonna stop having sex before marriage? And my friend turns to her and he says, he already did. And she goes, oh my God. So this is an example of the very big difference between kind of a religious lifestyle and the kind of Canadian mentality. So I went from agnostic, so not having a belief in God, to being interested in religion, to believing in God, and then going on a search for the truth, the one true religion. At that point, I was really praying to God to send me the truth. I remember I said in my prayer to God, whatever the truth looks like, I will accept it. So if it means I have to learn a new language, okay. If I have to wear some funny clothing, okay. But I just want the truth. It was a very uncomfortable time actually, because while I still saw the beauty and was so fascinated by all these religions I was learning about, at the same time, I was being told by members of these religions that if I didn't accept their particular religion, I would go to hell. So it was good and bad experience in a sense. It was a struggle to keep searching. So with the Baha'i faith, what really changed is I now found a way that I can serve humanity in a very effective way that will be conducive to my own growth and to the growth of my community and society as a whole.
اولین باری که مارکو دیدم توی دانشگاه SFU بود. روزی بود که کلوب‌های مختلف بودن و میزایی داشتند، هر یکی برای بسکتبال، یکی برای ادیان مختلف و دیدم که یه کسی وایساده دم این میز بهایی کلوب. یه نفر سفید پوسته و کلی پوستر گذاشته و کتاب گذاشته و خیلی مشتاق هست که با من دربارش حرف بزنه و بعد گفتم که خب من بهایی هستم البته. و اونجا اولین باری بود که دیدمش.
We both served together by holding meetings and doing a study book with some friends there and doing other sorts of club activities. So it was a very good way to meet and get to know the character of somebody by doing service with them. Very shortly after I started seeing her, I went away for a year to China because I had actually planned it for quite some time. And I went there for a year and taught English.
They told me I come home with a Chinese wife, but they don't understand. I got a much better life with my Junam, your name is Maryam. Every day I gotta say mental reduce to RAM. Yeah, my Junam, your name is Maryam. Every day I gotta say.
Then I came back, and afterwards, unfortunately, I had to go again because I went to law school out in Ontario, which is about 4.5 hours away by plane ride. But then I came back, and we got married during the winter break right before my last semester there.
من مارک هستم داماد هستم ایشون عروس من. I can be your hero baby. I can take away the pain. I will stand by you forever.
Well, I don't have a Persian family. And I don't have a family that understands the meaning of khastagari. So I went there by myself to Miriam's parents. And it was just me and her parents in the kitchen of her house. So there I was by myself. Well, first of all, only Miriam's mom really speaks any English. Her dad's English is not so good. So I said, Ozma, I was thinking that Miriam and I should get married. And now, first of all, remember, my parents, when I told them that we're engaged, or that's how you do it in Canadian land, they said, oh, that's wonderful, Mark. Yay, that's great. This is great news. And they're very happy for me. So I was expecting something of the same thing with Miriam's parents. No, not at all. So I said to Ozma, like I said, so I was thinking Miriam and I should get married. And she says, And then she says something to Miriam's dad, Mansour. And then he says, and she says to me, how will you support her? I said, well, I'm in law school right now. Lawyers are relatively well paid, I think. I think that'll be okay. And then more. No smiling, of course. No laughing. Miriam's mom says, what if Miriam has some health problems sometime later? I said, well, I could do my best to support her, and, marriage is forever. So, whatever it takes to get through any difficulties, I'm committed. Then more talking, blah, 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 blah. I didn't understand anything they're saying, of course. And then Mary's mom says to me, Mansour says he's not opposed to the marriage. I said, okay, that's great. And then they were still stone cold faced. And that was the Khastagari. Mariam was too afraid to be there.
No, I wasn't there.
She wasn't there. She couldn't take it.
No, it's all good. Yeah.
She was
It's
more
all
nervous
over.
than I was at first. Now in hindsight, maybe I should have been nervous. But I said,
Maybe you
your
had no
parents
idea."
will love me. It's okay, no problem.
No.
I was overconfident. It doesn't matter your past. If your heart is searching, your answer will come like a breeze.